It's 2 in the morning. The house is completely silent, but you are wide awake. And chances are, so is your child. If you're listening to this, you know that feeling, right? That heavy, overwhelming weight of a sleepless night. You know the exhaustion that settles deep in your bones, and even worse, you see the toll it takes on your kid the next day. You're not just tired, you're looking for real answers, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. Let's dive into this universal struggle and, together, find a way through it.
I want to start with this because it is the absolute most important thing you need to hear. You are not failing. And you are certainly, definitely not alone in this. In this explainer, we are going to decode sleep deprivation. We're going to look under the hood and see exactly how all that interrupted sleep creates that dreaded brain fog and that wired, frantic fatigue in our kids. By the end of this, you're not just going to understand why your child is struggling, you're going to have a clear, science-backed roadmap to get your family's rest back on track.
All right, so here is our game plan. First, we'll tackle what we're calling the universal hurdle of sleep itself. Then, we'll put on our lab coats and go inside the exhausted brain. After that, we'll learn how to spot the distress signals our kids are sending us, and then, the part I know you're waiting for, a practical, step-by-step roadmap to rest, followed by some really crucial thoughts on making it all stick.
So, let's start at the beginning. What exactly is sleep? You know, it's easy to think of it as just turning off for the night, like a computer, but it is so far from that. To solve this problem, we first have to understand the very architecture of sleep. It is an incredibly active, complex, and vital process that is the foundation for, well, pretty much everything. Okay, so now that we know sleep is a busy, active job for the brain, let's really look at what happens when that process gets broken. We're going inside the exhausted brain to see the science of sleeplessness up close, and to understand just how that delicate system gets thrown into total chaos. The entire foundation of healthy rest is something called the sleep cycle. It's not just one long nap, right? It's this highly active, really complex process where the brain cycles through different stages, and each one has a critical job to do, from repairing the body to filing away memories. Think of it like an essential nightly maintenance crew that comes in to fix and organize your child's entire system. And this is where it gets really fascinating. A child's brain moves through these stages: light sleep, deep restorative sleep, and then REM sleep, all night long. Deep sleep, that's for the body. It's like the physical construction crew comes in. This is when physical repairs happen, when growth spurts really kick in, and when the immune system gets a major boost. Now, REM sleep, on the other hand, that's for the brain. It's like the brain's librarian. This is where the magic happens, processing emotions, cementing memories, and basically clearing out all the mental junk from the day.
So, for a child to be healthy and well-rested, they need to complete multiple, uninterrupted cycles of these stages every single night. Which brings us to the most crucial question. What happens when this delicate, beautiful cycle is constantly broken?
The result is a phenomenon that scientists call sleep debt. See, when a child wakes up over and over, their brain is forced to restart the cycle. They might get some light sleep, but they never get to spend enough continuous time in those deep, restorative stages. This deficit just compounds, night after night. And unlike a credit card, you can't just pay it off by sleeping in on Saturday. It doesn't work that way. The body is literally being starved of its repair time, and the brain is being denied its essential maintenance.
So, which part of the brain takes the biggest hit from all this? Well, it's a region called the prefrontal cortex. The easiest way to think about this area is as the CEO of the brain. It's in charge of all the big, important executive functions: decision-making, impulse control, focus, emotional regulation. So when a child's sleep cycles are constantly interrupted, the CEO basically goes offline. This is why a simple request like, "Hey, can you put on your shoes?" can lead to a full-blown, world-ending meltdown. The part of their brain that's supposed to manage that response simply isn't functioning. The boss is out to lunch.
Now, this is the physiological root of what we call brain fog. And it's not just a feeling, it's a real thing. Imagine this. During that deep REM sleep, the brain has this amazing cleanup crew that comes in and clears out all the waste products that build up between your brain cells during the day. Without enough REM sleep, that crew can't do its job. So that waste, it just builds up, literally clogging the system and slowing down communication between brain cells. All of a sudden, trying to learn something new at school becomes like trying to run through waist-deep water. Information processing just grinds to a halt.
And believe it or not, there's more. A sleep-deprived body starts to perceive itself as being under constant physical threat. It can't tell the difference. So it triggers the release of cortisol, the main stress hormone. This keeps your child in a constant, low-grade state of fight or flight, which leads to that incredibly confusing wired fatigue. It's a frustrating paradox, isn't it? Your child is completely exhausted, but they have more energy than ever. That is the cortisol effect in action.
So we've seen all this internal chaos happening in the brain. But how does that actually show up in your living room? Now we're shifting from the science to the real-world behaviors, the distress signals that show us what exhaustion really truly looks like. Okay, this slide is absolutely key. When we as adults get tired, what happens? We get sluggish, we slow down, we feel drowsy. But children? They often do the exact opposite. They can become hyperactive, wired, seemingly bouncing off the walls. This is known as paradoxical hyperactivity, and it's the body's last-ditch effort to fight off total exhaustion by flooding the system with adrenaline. It's a survival mechanism that has just gone into complete overdrive.
So beyond that crazy hyperactivity, what else should you be looking for? Well, extreme difficulty waking up in the morning is a huge red flag. If it takes you 20 minutes of prodding and pleading just to get them out of bed, their sleep debt is probably pretty high. Have you noticed any sudden clumsiness or an increase in little accidents? Their spatial awareness and motor control are compromised. And finally, watch what they want to eat. An exhausted brain craves quick energy, which leads to intense cravings for sugar and simple carbs. These aren't just random, isolated incidents. They are all interconnected symptoms of one single root cause: sleep debt.
So, this is the crucial takeaway from all the science. That meltdown over a banana being broken in half, the staring blankly at a homework problem they totally understood yesterday, these are not behavioral issues. They are not signs of a bad kid or bad parenting. They are distress signals. They are the cries for help from an exhausted, completely overwhelmed nervous system begging for rest.
But here is the really good news. Sleep architecture can be rebuilt. This is not a permanent state of being. So now we get to pivot from the problem to the solution. Here is your practical, step-by-step roadmap to guiding your child back to the healthy, restorative rest they so desperately need and deserve.
We're going to focus on a really clear 4-step plan. I want you to think of these as the 4 main pillars of rebuilding healthy sleep: setting a consistent anchor, conducting an environmental audit of the bedroom, creating a digital sunset, and finally, establishing some dietary boundaries. Let's break down this action plan. First, the consistent anchor. This means setting a strict wake-up time every single day, even on weekends. I know, that sounds a little painful, but it is the single fastest way to reset their internal biological clock, their circadian rhythm. Second, the environmental audit. Keep their bedroom cool, ideally between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Why? Because a natural drop in our core body temperature is a powerful signal to the brain that it's time to sleep. Make the room as dark as you possibly can to maximize the brain's production of melatonin, the sleep hormone. And if you use a nightlight, choose a warm amber or red bulb, which won't disrupt those sleep hormones like a bright blue or white light does. Third, the digital sunset. This one is non-negotiable. Turn off all screens, tablets, phones, TVs, at least 1 full hour before bedtime. That blue light from these devices is like a shot of espresso directly to the brain. It aggressively shuts down melatonin production. Finally, dietary boundaries. Be a detective for hidden caffeine in things like soda or chocolate after mid-afternoon, and try to limit those heavy, sugary snacks right before bed, as they can cause a spike and then a crash in blood sugar that can easily wake a child up in the middle of the night.
Now, implementing this plan isn't a quick fix. It really requires a long-term mindset. So let's just wrap things up with some final thoughts on consistency, along with some expert advice and, most importantly, encouragement for the journey ahead.
Please take this to heart. Aim for consistency, not perfection. There will absolutely be bad nights, a teething episode, a bad dream, a holiday. Life happens, and that is okay. Progress is never a straight line. The goal is just to create a consistent framework that becomes the new normal. One off night will not derail the whole process if you get right back on track the next day. The body wants to find its rhythm, and it will.
It is, however, really important to know when you might need a little more help. If you've implemented these changes consistently for several weeks and your child still shows severe daytime fatigue, or if you notice loud, consistent snoring every night, or if you ever observe them gasping for air while they sleep, it is time to consult your pediatrician. They can screen for underlying medical issues like pediatric sleep apnea that might require a different kind of support. By understanding the science and by taking control of the evening environment, you are giving your child one of the greatest foundations for their health, for their learning, and for their happiness. Change takes time, so be patient with your child, and please be gentle with yourself. You are doing a wonderful and incredibly challenging job. Trust the process. and trust yourself. You've got this.
I'll leave you with this one final thought. Sleep deprivation is a huge hurdle, but it is not a life sentence. As you go into your evening tonight, just think about this question. How could one small change, just one, like a consistent wake-up time tomorrow or turning off a screen just a little bit earlier, how could that one thing begin to reshape your family's entire tomorrow? Wishing you and yours a very, very good and restful night.